will it get? I'll have your full forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Bob. Now back to our top story. The death of a Dallas officer has left the department reeling from the loss and mourning for a man they called a good cop.
Officer Brian Jackson was gunned down in Old East Dallas Sunday as he chased down a domestic violence suspect. WB33's Joanne Castaneda joins us now live from Central Command Station where Jackson worked. Joanne?
That's right, Tom. Officer Brian Jackson worked the 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift here at Central Command Station in Dallas. Today, his fellow officers and co-workers started the day with a heavy heart, knowing the officer they called Bosco would never be back here again.
We did everything as a threesome for the most part, and it was a lot of fun.
Working side by side in a squad car makes for special friendships. Eric Knight and Kyle Land say that's exactly what they shared with fallen officer Brian Jackson.
A lot of people called him and him my shadows, because where there was one, there was three.
Knight recalls the first time he met the 28-year-old Rhode Island native at the Central Command Station. They were partners for 2.5 years.
He pulled up next to me and I was like, who is this? And how did we hire Kojak? Because he was bald-headed, he had a lollipop, and he had a Yankee accent.
The Yankee accent never left, but they said Jackson embraced his new Southern home and, most of all, his job. Out of his own pocket, he paid for an expensive police radio and spent many hours developing leads on unsolved cases. His co-workers laughed about his interviews with many homeless people.
We'll call it the homeless mainframe. And from this, he solved the Hoffa. He solved JFK's murder.
All joking aside, his friends say the officer was a hard-working, well-respected man. In fact, the night Jackson was shot, he was minutes from getting off duty.
It was his Friday, not just time to go home. I mean, it was his Friday. He was done for the next 3 days.
Jackson volunteered to take the domestic violence call, something his friends say was typical of the officer who went above and beyond.
I guarantee you if he was here today and he knew the same outcome, he would do the exact same thing again. That's just...
No questions asked.
That's Brian, and we really love him. We really miss him.
Everyone here saying he will be greatly missed. Now, Officer Jackson had hoped to get on with the Dallas gang unit. He provided much intelligence, but besides that, his co-workers say he also worked with many juveniles, hoping to turn their lives around. On Wednesday evening here at Central Command Station at 7 p.m., there will be a public vigil in honor of Officer Jackson. In Dallas, Joanne Castaneda, WB33 News at 9.
Well, questions are now being raised about the Mexican national accused of killing Officer Brian Jackson.
That's right. The suspect is in this country illegally. And as WB33's Don Tongish reports, despite run-ins with the law, steps were never taken to deport him.
I'd only seen the guy once when I first moved in. He was intoxicated at the time and looked like he had an attitude.
Neighbors say they knew Juan Lizcano was a violent drunk, but they didn't know the Mexican national who lived in this Oak Cliff apartment was in the country illegally and had been for 2 years.
Every month, our agents arrest more than 200 illegal aliens in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area.
Immigration officials say the vast majority of illegal aliens rounded up are convicted criminals, but alleged lawbreaker Lizcano slipped through the cracks. Authorities say Lizcano was arrested in September after he threatened to kill his girlfriend with a knife. Just days later, he was busted again, charged with driving while intoxicated. But while behind bars, he was never identified as an illegal alien. Immigration officials say they only have time and manpower to screen high-priority inmates like possible terrorists and accused murderers.
With an inmate population of more than 7,000, hundreds of them coming and going each day, sometimes coming and going the same day, we aren't able to interview each and every foreign-born inmate to determine if they are an illegal alien.
Lizcano was never screened. He was never on the radar for deportation, even though he had those run-ins with police. It's a breakdown that critics say allows accused criminals who are illegal to walk the streets.
It ends up being sort of a hit-or-miss system.
Former federal prosecutor John Tico places some blame with police who he says have washed their hands of illegal aliens.
Dallas Police Department will tell you that that's the extent of the action that they're going to take, is to contact, once they verify someone's from another country, they will contact the consulate from where that person is from.
Critics say it's that kind of disregard that opens the doors for many illegals to go on and commit more crimes. And in this case, that alleged crime is murder. Dawn Tongish, WB33 News at 9.
Dallas Mayor Laura Miller addressed reporters today after meeting with Officer Jackson's wife, Joanne. Miller called Jackson's death tragic and senseless. She urged citizens in the Metroplex to show their appreciation for police officers everywhere.
If this week, everyone in the Metroplex, whenever they see a police officer from any agency, would go up to them, whether they're in a car or having lunch or on the street, and just say, "Thank you for what you do for me and my family to keep us safe." And I think it would mean a lot to the officers, it would mean a lot to their families, and it would mean a whole lot to Joanne Jackson.
Brian and Joanne Jackson were married just 2 months ago. Well, as Dallas police prepare to add Jackson's name to the memorial near City Hall, they're reminded of how dangerous the holiday season can be.
More officers die in the line of duty during the holiday season than any other time of the year. WB33's Jennifer Dodd has that story.
The holiday season is known for many things: gifts, eating